talk about form in filmmaking a lot, and just as Black folks, picked up classical instruments and made jazz, we always talk about how in filmmaking, our hand hasn't completely been seen. I mean, we're still dealing with like the 3-act structure and, neoclassical literature that goes back to ancient Greece. And so we're just like, well, what's our form of storytelling? And then when we really thought about Black news as like form in cinema, we're like, yeah, this could work.
What were some of those formal ideas?
Well, I think that's the thing. It's like it's free form. It's free thinking. It's like there is no form. There's nothing to kind of like latch onto in terms of structure or just like, you have to hit this kind of moment in the plot before we go into the next thing. So, and I think that's something that this film really does achieve.
Maybe unresolved.
Unresolved, that's how I feel.
There's so many things.
I have a question for everybody, because like you brought up something that like I was thinking about watching the movie, which is what is the like galvanizing argument for this movie?
Yes.
Like what is it what coheres everything? And I couldn't come up with a full answer to that, and that's what frustrated me, was like I'm enjoying the experience of the texture and the color.
Exactly.
But I feel like there's almost no there because it wants to glide along the beautiful surfaces of all these ideas rather than like dig into the muck of it.
I do think that that's kind of also what it's. I think that its ambition is to say that there is no need for it to cohere around anything, and that there's a break in the same way as the like kind of bodies sink into the depths of the ocean and get like eaten in different ways. There's, I think, an ambition to say that these stories don't need to be finished don't need to be membered.
And do you feel like
in a particular way? But I'm not
actually
by it.
a result of the film anchoring itself in an encyclopedia? Because an encyclopedia doesn't give you a full story.
Exactly.
It gives you a glimpse to a part of a story.
I think someone just asked like what would have satisfied us if we were feeling unsatisfied. And to me, especially when I know I'm seeing a film, that would be like perspective, right? And not that this film lacks perspective, but to your point, Denny, like what perspective can you gauge from an encyclopedic text?
Right.
And to me, I know like Black thought folks through time have questions for W.E.B. Du Bois, right? And one of them that I struggle with is like the cruelty of what it means to try to codify something, and like to because while it's important, right, to couch something and like this happened, and I know where and I know when, and here are photos, and this is what it did. I think it also inherently like constructs whatever future you look for. And W.E.B. Du Bois, like I even have one of the tattoos of the image 17 he used. He goes to Negroes and he asks them about where they are and how they are, but as a effect of where they've been. When the place that they've been is a thing that they're trying to, like Saidiya Hartman said, trying to like fight against, right? So.
I actually walked out of there and was kind of like, oh, I enjoyed that, and I was like, I don't feel too strongly about it. But now listening to you, I'm like, actually, I think I do feel a little.
No,
entertaining. It's
I
entertaining.
I actually love it.
I think all these kind of concerns about resolution, these concerns about maybe I'm being a little bit too lax about because of the political and points that are being made. But I think Black news as it was during the Underground Museum was always being updated. And so we're seeing this movie and we're like, okay, well that wasn't everything that I wanted to experience. Like to me, the movie itself acts as an encyclopedia where it's giving you a bunch of reference points for you to go and look into if you're curious. But it doesn't have any necessarily need for resolution, because I think this movie is perhaps opening up for other people to make movies that will be new Black newses, right? Or there's so many references that aren't page numbers, cinematically, theoretically, that even in the references, if we call it the credits, like, do you know who Christina Sharp is? Do you know, did you know who Saidiya Hartman at first, before she was actually listed, she was speaking? And I didn't know Saidiya Hartman she's credited as a writer. And then people don't know that Saidiya Hartman started out as a film scholar under the name S.C. Hartman. So it's like there's so many things that she can go into that I think the movie is opening up. I don't think it was supposed to have a resolution. I don't think it was supposed to be.
But I think that's where the container of the news and like black news helps them, because when we watch the news, like there is no context to what that man did and what that government official said. And it's like it just gets to be a blast of what they think, whoever they are, they think you need to know. And then you move through your day with that information. And I think that's where like, oh, this is a newscast essentially. And all you're doing are giving me the bits that maybe I wouldn't get elsewhere. That's why I'm on this news channel. And then I get to deduce myself out of that.
Let's talk about the style of the film. I feel like style on multiple elements in terms of the form, the costume design.
I loved Fumi's suit jacket thing. I was totally taken away by it. I was like, what the hell am I looking at? And that's who else bought it. And Ib Kamara at the end, I was like, yeah. But I mean, the style of the actual costuming, the sense of like the mise en scène, all these sorts of things, I'm like, I don't know how to connect them to the actual style that's being put forth of the movie itself. In terms of like assemblage, like there were no, everything was very polished here inside of the film. That I found it really interesting as juxtaposition, I guess, between the kind of choppiness, timelessness of the film, and then the futuristic narrative qualities have this very streamlined, runway ready thing, right? Like that I found really, really interesting. Even when you look at the photographs from like 1920, this
let's post up for a second.
Elite. These people are extremely right, as a part of their politics, right? And I found that really. I always am taken aback by the wardrobe, especially how black people fashion themselves throughout time. So,
like 6.
Oh yeah, there was one lady. I think from like I don't remember. There was one lady. She had like a frill that went like this, and it came through on the shirts on both sides in one of the photographs. And I was like, what? I was like, who made it? I always want to know who made it because there's all these seamstresses. Like they talk about his grandma was a seamstress for this white family, and I'm like this whole other archival world of self-fashioning that we'll never get to the bottom of. We don't need to get to the bottom of it. Like it feels like it's just gone. Like sometimes that I was really intrigued by.
Well, I actually like the diaristic moments because it is trying to actually nod to some of the irresolvability of it all, which I actually think was like works. And I think I don't want to talk about the fiction anymore because we already know it. But, like, but I mean, you kind of can't. When you talk about form and all this, it's like okay, the form of it is like this assemblage that we oftentimes see in video art. So it's like okay, what does it feel like to blow it and scale it up to be a black box feature film? And that's when you get to see what works about that form for a cinema context, what doesn't.
I feel like the form leaves a lot of room for you. Like there wasn't a narrator, though there was lots of narration, and I appreciated that. Like it had to exist in my voice, and put my own voice in it. But at the same time, there was like, okay, we have all these memes that we all know, and like vines, and in places that we've all been, that gave me the question after a while of like, oh, whose is this? Like, like Kahlil Joseph put this together and collaged this, and this is your brainchild, but like in the way that we've been a part of all of these moments before we watch them on the screen, it belongs to me too. Like I fucking made this because I laughed at that,
Right.
And
the ownership,
and I think that that was a way to use form to show that we are always building a tapestry that looks something like this. And this film can be made again and again and again by all of us interacting with those bits before they become like the encyclopedia,
But I was even thinking of that moment where we were watching like a noir French translation. Someone's like, "Where's the Rakim?" And I'm like,
"That was cool. That was cool. Yeah.
That was funny.
Yeah,
it's like
it trumps you a little bit in the subtitling not being at all what was being said in French.
100%. So I feel like there were moments, where it was just like these subtle moments where we're sitting in like the historical rupture, but then we're often brought out of it sometimes with like humor or levity that's like this also isn't necessarily 100% indexical,
right?
And it's just constantly keeping you on your toes.
I was really intrigued. Like I love the meme inclusion, which is one of my favorite things about Black News, is that they include like memes and vines and TikToks as like Black culture artifacts because they are. But I was really wanting to see like other grounded kind of memes of the time that were setting up for Du Bois. I think it itself having a drag Du Bois, the concept of a drag Du Bois is so funny to me because I'm like, I think that there's other like there's so much drama between these historical figures that we don't ever really get to talk about that I think could have been a part of that levity that connects the contemporary through this kind of peak of time and indexicality that I thought would have been fun to have included. But I really thought that I'm still stuck on the Du Bois of it all because I'm kind of like, thank God. I mean, well, I'll say, thank God. I was like, it wasn't this other thinker that I don't really care for. But Du Bois.
Wait, who? You can whisper.
Say them. Say their name.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I was like, you know, we see a little bit. We see a little bit.
And I was like, oh, where is this?
I said Fanon, okay, guys. And then I was stuck. I was like, why a drag Du Bois?
Yeah.
It's exciting.
It's so exciting. It's so exciting.
You like you said, you like worship them. You like have there's like a respectability, tastefulness that like also needs to be completely stripped because it's like boring. It's boring. It's literally boring. That's like for your grandma. It's like, but also as I will be old one day. But like it's also like the preciousness of these figures are like also. It's like a secular celebrity like deity that I think like is so toxic to just thought, and also like just historicizing things but not necessarily like worshiping it and actually like taking it for what it actually is, and it like upends that.
What do we think about the place of music? Like what was its job? What was its kind of like, was it tasteful in the way that it was placed? Was it too much?
Sometimes it was like a little, it was like a wall of sound that just like swallowed the film down, and but sometimes that was like tactical, it was like cool, and then sometimes it was like
A little sloppy.
yeah, I was like I think you're like hiding from something.
I love the sound, like the mixing. I enjoy, like I know you're saying like sometimes you couldn't hear. I was like, I actually like that. Sometimes I don't know why, but I thought the sound was really. You said like it was like a wave at one point. So it was just like crashing down. And I thought that was perhaps their way of talking about this resonance is kind of like the one part where they were introducing this like fictional ship and you're kind of on a real ship on the water, like maybe like a oil rig because it was so high up. And you see the waves and I'm like, I want to hear that. And like the kind of click, the knocking, the like watery knocks that were part of that one piece in the Trans-Atlantic Biennale. I was like, is that a real piece? Can I hear that somewhere? I found myself like so intrigued by like the kind of layering of the soundtrack, the art pieces, I think sometimes even stripped down like repeated audio files maybe, that I was like, I would like to hear more about the construction of this music.
The more I think about it, the sound, while it was like a crash, I think it was used to carry us to the next place, whatever that was too. It really made me reminiscent, the whole project did, of Terrence Nance and just the way that collage happened. But I will say, I knew that the movie was ending because we came back, which I will admit I was looking for, and not necessarily because I was like ready for it to be over. I was just like, I'm ready to sit with it now. But I knew it was over because a theme came back. And I didn't notice when I picked up the theme, what the theme was exactly from. But I was like, oh, I do recognize this. And maybe it was early on, but there was something, I don't know how often or when, but we were brought back to something. And by the end of it, it had me meditating on the resonance field. And of like, oh, well, you will, I don't know, sometimes you're just in contact with something that has been or will be, and it sounds kind of familiar, and that's about it. You know, you're like, oh, that feels good to me, or like, oh, that, I don't know. There was something, like I knew the movie was ending because I was like, I hear it. I hear something that I've heard before, and what I know about movies is when it comes back, and, you know, But I did appreciate, like I felt so good when I heard that theme, wherever it came from. I felt so good when it returned. That's what I do know about the sound. Like a lot of it was just like noise until I could point to at least one thing and be like, oh, I know that one, you know.
I guess I have a question for everybody, but I want to ask, like, what is the overall message that you received from the film?
I guess I want to say that there's something that I appreciate about the ends not being tied up, and that maybe there's a disservice that we often experience in art or films that wants to like put everything together in a tidy package, you know, which comes back to this conversation about the encyclopedia and the way that it just sort of like opened all these boxes and left them open, and then that's how we experience the world, that we move through life always being like, oh, and this and the 5,000 things that unpacks for me, and this and the 5,000 things that unpacks for me, and like I'm not like going to bed at the end of the day being like, and it all means.
For me, it kind of like felt like an embodiment of like my brain and like all the tabs that are currently open.
Exactly.
And then just like trying to like find the different connections.
Yeah.
And then like you're like, oh wait, what am I doing? It's 2 a.m. So it's just like, for me, it was about like the feeling rather than like a message.
Sure.
And I don't know, I don't want to like over intellectualize it, because like sometimes I think that it can get out of that realm. But I definitely want to like sit with it again and like further understand like what is happening with it, because I think there's a lot going on that went over my head. So yeah.
I don't have like any message I've come away with the with the film, but it has made me think a lot about what matters to me when it comes to a film. And maybe my complaints aren't necessarily about style and form, but about wanting a more emotional response and connection to what I was witnessing.
Yeah, exactly. I feel that too. I feel like there wasn't necessarily a message or too much of an emotion, more than a style that really came through the film. But I wonder if that's not fully what the kind of attempt is.
Yeah, I agree.
Is that there is in a style a way of living, which is a quote I think in the film.
Like what like black academic, like the text du jour, and then you're seeing it exemplified on like a cinematic level and seeing it. That's how I look at it. To me, like I look at it because when I saw all the credits, I was like, okay. I was like, okay, this is like a milieu. This is their aesthetic like obsessions, and this is them trying to make a feature out of it. And like, can it work in a black box? Like, is it fully legible? And sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't, sometimes it works. So that's why I look at it as like a big experiment. Also, it's like we've probably sit with a lot of these texts, so we're like, ooh, I get to see like I'm like, I feel hashtag representation. Like it's giving that sometimes, but which is exciting. But then I'm like, but I'm also okay. Well, what is this film doing? Like as a film, like what is it doing, and is it doing it like, is it in service to like the arena that it's actually in the actual form? Because you can like, I can nod my head all I want. Like I hate nodding my head. You know, it's like, what are you provoking me? That's why the W. Du Bois drag was cool. So I don't know. I found it like satisfying as the experiment that it is, especially from someone who functions in music videos generally. Yeah. But also like music videos like being such a big like. I don't know, we're to that age too where it was like so, it's like part of like how we like.
I think that's like part of your critique of like it's highly academic. It's like you feel the lapse of who's left out of the conversations that they're responding to.
Yes.
So you're like, why are we, like when we realized that Drag Du Bois and the unnamed woman in the tenement is the same as the oceanographer and the curator, and that they're introduced across this time, and the only thing I can think of in it that if I want to try to make some sort of narrative sense is like it's supposed to be connected to that real couple saying, I love you so much and we're gonna find you in another lifetime, and like maybe I'll be the man, be the woman and you're the man. I think it was supposed to be some kind of connected to that kind of emotional capacity, but that emotion is love, which is so highly contested as a necessary dialectic to think through blackness with.
The film itself kept looping.
It kept looping, which I loved, you know, but I was
over and over again.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, we're going back to this story.
Yes.
All right, we're going back to this story again.
Yeah. And I thought that was really something that I enjoyed, actually. Like I enjoy an durational experimental piece, because I feel like so many black experimental pieces only get to be short because they don't have enough funding.
Yeah. Right. It's
and
the budget.
So I feel like part of what this was like actually an experiment of like, could you have a long form experimental film of this budget with all these people involved, and like would it work, quote unquote, right? Then I was thinking like, who would I want to do the next Black News?
That's a great
who would I
question.
want to be the next director? What would the next concerns be? Who would the next historical linchpin be? What would happen if it was Shirley Graham?
Yeah, I was like,
what if it was like, you know, I think in this part I was thinking like Crystal Campbell, who does this work very well. Like I'm thinking of other people. I'm like, who would do the next pieces that if we're gonna consider this as like a kind of opening up for like a new area is something that I keep coming back to.
I'm cold.
Me too.
Let's head back this way.
Are we at?
I'm glad we moved. He's calling.
I'm glad we moved.
I think we're good. Alright, I think we're good, guys. Thank you. Wow, thank you. I'm just gonna keep filming us walking, but it's sick.
It's nice to get this sun.
It goes well with the ship design too. And his
yeah, that ship's design was